Move into the ordinary meeting of council. General Manager, could you read the advice concerning the recording of the meeting, please?
Mr Mayor, this council meeting is being recorded in accordance with council's webcasting of council meetings policy. The recording will be archived and made available for viewing at any time on council's YouTube channel for a minimum period of 12 months. All care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, if you are in attendance in the public gallery, you should be aware that your presence may be recorded. Your continued attendance means that you agree to being recorded and also that you will abide by the council's adopted code of meeting practice. The chairperson or general manager have the discretion to interrupt the recording of any meeting at any time should it be deemed necessary. This may occur in circumstances where commentary is considered to be misleading, defamatory or inappropriate to be published, or where behaviour breaches council's adopted code of meeting practice. Councillors and senior staff are reminded that this meeting is being live streamed, and for the benefit of those viewing online, please ensure you use the microphone when speaking and turn it off when you are finished.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Could I ask all who are able to please stand for the prayer and acknowledgement of country? Almighty God, give wisdom to those in authority and guide all peoples in the way of righteousness and peace, so that we may share with justice the resources of the earth, work together in trust and seek the common good. Amen. I'd like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on the traditional lands of the Wiradjuri people and recognise the strength, resilience and capacities of Aboriginal people in this land. You may all be seated. Thank you. Mutual apologies and tenders by audio-visual link. General Manager, are there any apologies or approvals required for attendance by audio-visual?
Mr Mayor, there are no apologies, but there are two requests for approval for audio-visual link, that being Councillor Orban and Councillor West.
Can I have a move in a second? Councillor Fry, Councillor Gulliver. Move to item 6.1, confirmation of minutes, ordinary council meeting 11th December 2024. Can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Wright, Councillor Packham, councillors... Oh, all moved. Declaration of interest. General Manager, do we have any declarations of interest?
Mr Mayor, I have a number of declarations of interest, and they are as follows. Councillor Packham, in item 9.1.2 of the General Manager's report, the Kelo Community Hub item. A declaration from Councillor Orban in item 12.1.1 of the Director of Corporate Services confidential report concerning the request for fee relief, water and sewer charges. Councillor Packham also on item 12.1.1 of the Director of Corporate Services and Finance confidential report concerning the request for fee relief, water and sewer. One from Councillor Underwood, item number 9.4.1 of the Director of Engineering Services concerning the Sporting Association grants, and one from Councillor Fry concerning item 9.2.3, which refers to the upstairs hub.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Can we have a move and a seconder? Councillor Gulliver and Councillor Underwood. We move to item 8.1. Merrill minutes, NGA Canberra notice of motion, infrastructure, roads and upgrades. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for, against, carried. Move to item 9.1.9, General Manager's report, appointment of duty delegates, representatives to statutory committees, advisory committees and consortia. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Cranston, Councillor Gulliver. Councillors, any discussion? Councillor Wright.
So just because this one has come up because of me, I just thought I'd get it on the record, the reasons that I withdrew from these groups. So on the 29th of November, I sent the General Manager an email saying that following the events of Wednesday, my increased workload with numerous code of conduct complaints to respond to, etc., I will be withdrawing myself from the following committees effective immediately. I have removed myself from pretty much every group that I would have had to have had any association with Councillor West. I've also removed myself from Meals on Wheels service purely because I can't make their morning meetings. So that's not good enough for me. I've also left the liquor accord because I think there's the potential for just a conflict with work stuff in the next year. So it just didn't seem right. I've also left the Bathurst Regional Access Committee purely because having gone to a meeting now, I can see the work, effort, time required, and I just didn't feel that I could be of enough service to that group. And I have more respect for Bob than to do, a half the next word job. Then I've also just removed myself from the Somerville Collection Board of Directors, and that was purely because there was a digital platform that I didn't want, that I had to sign up to be a part of it, and unfortunately I just didn't want to do that. So that's it in the reasoning behind it. I don't know, hopefully Councillor Packham, we've got him since we all signed up to these. I think he'd be amazing on some of these groups, but I hope they can be filled, and I certainly apologise to the team for having to carry any extra workload, and to the committees that I've had to pull out of. The only thing I just wanted to ask, it just said in regards to the Somerville board, whilst the mayor is the delegate of the board, it's recommended that an alternate delegate be appointed. Having now been to that appointment with the museum manager, whatever Miss Middleton, her role is, having been to that appointment, I now understand it to be quite a redundant role because of the moving forward of this board. It's kind of going to be dissolved at some point. Anyway, just knowing that took an hour or so, and there was a bit of preparation, is it 100% necessary of staff time that it has to happen? Or I don't know, just going to the appointment, it felt like it didn't need anyone on it. But no, that's...
You're right. Mr. General Manager.
Mr Mayor, just a quick comment in that space. Legally, we have to, because the museum was set up with a company structure that includes Bathurst Council, the Charles Sturt University, Warren Somerville, the Australian Museum, and the Australasian Mining and Metallurgy Group. The mayor is the main person to say. The reason we have an alternate is if the mayor doesn't make it, so that we're represented at the board meetings, because we have statutory obligations under company law. So that's the only thing there. In terms of, Mr. if you don't mind, in terms of the positions that are outstanding, Councillor Packham, you've said that you'll do BRAC and that you'll go as the alternate on Somerville. So that's all right. The mayor has said he will do the liquor accord, so that'll cover that one. And the mayor's been on that before. Yeah. Okay, so really, I need someone to nominate for Bathurst Meals on Wheels, so Councillor Fry. We don't need to do any variation in terms of the Local Government Women's Association. That's all covered, so it makes nothing there. The Community Climate Action Network, Councillor West is the delegate there. So it's only if someone wants to be an alternate on it. There can be a nomination now, or we can, at a later date. A lot of these committees, if you're interested in going, you can just go along to them. I'm sure they're happy to have people attend. Liquor Accord we've dealt with. The Neighbourhood Centre is already covered by Councillor West being the delegate on it. We've done the Access Committee. The public libraries, I think with Councillors Fry and West, we're covered in that space. And the Youth Council, we've got Councillors Fry, Underwood and West, so I think we're covered there. So really, if Council is happy, I'll have the resolution that Council appoint duty delegates to the following committees, and that will be Bathurst Meals on Wheels, Councillor Fry, Bathurst Liquor Accord, Mayor, Bathurst Regional Access Committee, Councillor Packham, and the Somerville Board of Directors. The alternate will be Councillor Packham, and if Council's happy with that, that's what will be in the minute, and if the resolution could go to that effect, Mr Mayor, that'll cover it.
Okay, the Council's happy with that decision. I'll put the vote now for resolution. Those for, against, carried. Thank you. Move on to item 9.1.2, Kelo Community Hub lease proposal, Walu Health Aboriginal Corporation, Bathurst. Have a move and a second, Jack Underwood. Mover, Councillor Fry, seconder.
No, sorry.
And we're going to do...
Mr. Mayor, there's a declaration.
Declaration.
So could I just say, we won't, if you don't mind pulling back the moving and the second, it needs Councillor Fry to, Councillor Packham, sorry, to make his declaration.
I have potential conflict of interest on this one in that I ran on the same ticket as one of the applicants.
You leave the room, Mr. Packham. Now we have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Underwood, is he gone? Councillor Wright? Councillor Underwood, mover. Councillor Wright, seconder. Any discussions, Councillor? Councillor Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Do we got to close the door? No? It's gone. Okay, it's gone for a walk. Right. All right. So reading through this report, I know the really long journey that we've all undertaken to be where we are tonight with the establishment of the hub serving the community since it was opened in 2005. The revelation during construction that the Kelo Community Network did not possess the skill level to manage the centre as was originally envisioned, and the commitment from this council to accept responsibility for the ongoing maintenance and management of the centre as owner-operator. The subsequent challenges in council operating in this space and the effects of COVID-19 in recent years now sees the hub's current model operating as a dry hire facility, and sadly that means it's only open a couple of days a week. The potential for this space is enormous, and the benefits this lease offers our community are enormous. The Kelo Community Hub being managed by council requires substantial resources, including dedicated staff time across council departments, and given that council is not traditionally a direct service provider in this space, the ideal model I can see from this report was always that it was going to be managed by other groups. What we have in front of us tonight is the most positive health story in Bathurst today. So these are the reasons why I support this lease and the recommendation from council by way of facts. Only 4% of Australia has a lower socio-economic index score than Kelo. In comparison to other areas of Bathurst, Kelo has the highest level of disadvantage. Bathurst is one of 2 regional centres in New South Wales that does not have an Aboriginal medical service. There are improved health outcomes for the whole community in populations that have an AMS. Allowing this AMS ensures that there is greater access to community services within this community that council just simply cannot provide. The AMS model is able to better attract GPs, specialists and allied health professionals. And the model that is most similar to this proposal is the very successful Orange AMS. Over the past 15 years, the total net loss of operating the Kelo Community Hub has been $2,890,085.35, and I probably could have rounded that up. The proposal carries the potential to remove a loss-making asset off council's books. And the decision being made tonight is not for the transfer of deed to the leasee. The matter is not the subject of this report and would be subject to further reports. Under the proposed agreement, all existing leases will be honoured, including fees and charges. And I'll note a request from fellow councillors for a business plan, and I note that that was not provided in, it mentions that in this report for this lease. And I'm in agreement with that decision, as it's not required for business plans to be offered upon tendering a lease. Simply put, it's just against standard business practice across the board. This lease offers alignment to the National Agreement on Closing the Gap, and this plan includes the priority reforms of formal partnerships and shared decision-making, building a community-controlled sector, and socio-economic targets, including everyone enjoys long and healthy lives, and children are born healthy and strong. The service proposed is non-discriminatory, with care and facilities available to every member of the public, and this lease aligns with our current CSP Community Strategic Plan. That is Strategy 5, that we foster community health, safety and wellbeing. Strategy 5.1, that we advocate for health services within the Bathurst region. Strategy 5.3, that we help build resilient communities. Strategy 6, that we advocate for community leadership and collaboration. One more minute, Mr. Mayor, I'll be
Yep,
quick.
you got a minute.
Strategy 6.3, we advocate for our community. This proposal actively helps us meet the strategies in the CSP, which is our guiding IPNR document, directly informed by our community. It also helps meet our Bathurst Regional Council Aboriginal Commitment Strategy, and this lease covers our outgoings of water, sewerage consumption charges, electricity, gas, telephone, security, air conditioning, maintenance and servicing. The option of peppercorn rent outlined in this proposal makes this financially viable for Wyloo Health, meaning they can get on with the important work of providing more health services and more positive outcomes for our community. The application of full market rent would make the project unviable. It is not an option on the table, as it means the lease is unviable for the proponent and we would lose all the benefits I've just outlined from the AMS operating in Bathurst for our community. All of these positive benefits for our community culminate in this being the best health story in Bathurst right now.
Thank you, Councillor Underwood. Any further discussion? Yes, Councillor Wright.
So firstly, I would like to thank the Mayor and the General Manager for the extensive amount of work put into this. I was one of the main drivers in ensuring that we got this conversation in the public realm, purely at the request of some people in the community that just wanted to be part of the conversation. So can't thank the council enough for the transparency and certainly the alignment with key items in the Aboriginal commitment strategy by getting it in the public realm. So what a wonderful proposal. I completely agree. A vital service, completely supportive of this lease proposal. You know, I spoke to some of the directors. There was a little bit more detail that I was wishing to get by way of a business plan around programs and stuff like that. But we've had advice that's all going to be forthcoming. So I'm certainly looking forward to hearing more about that. The lease structure itself, I think, is great. I think we absolutely should be doing peppercorn rent because it's more important that we get this facility up and running with what it can deliver to the community. And actually, one of the directors was advising that the funding that they received of the $2.1 million through Justice Reinvested, the appetite was so big to support them. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the biggest grant recipients, because it's seen that Bathurst needs this facility so much. So I think that should be noted. It's a huge achievement. And one of the speakers tonight noted that operations are immense for funding opportunities moving forward. So, you know, there's a lot to be forthcoming to this space, which is great. The main issues that I raised by way of organising a meeting, and I certainly thank everyone who participated in that. It got a bit passionate, but that's what these things are, and we all care. And I thank everyone for their time who participated. So the main thing I just wanted to cover in that meeting were things around, you know, this is a community-owned asset. It was funded through grants, but it was also funded through ratepayer funds. So there was a sort of an onus, I think, to ask some questions. The main ones that I received were around fencing. We've had a very clear answer that there won't be fencing put up, that the playground can be accessed by children 24/7, also through unstaffed hours. Having been there a little bit myself, it's often a place of respite, I think, for kids when they need it. And so that was important. And so thank you for answering that. There was a question about land. I'm of the understanding that the end goal is for the transfer of the deed into the ownership of the Wyloo Health Corporation. And I just wanted to know that if the transfer of land was not on the table in the future, were they still wanting to go ahead with the lease? Not a complete answer, but certainly the feeling that yes, and we want to discuss that in the future. So thank you, Council, for stipulating in the report that we discuss that at a council meeting when that time comes. Then, what was the other commercially? I think that was it. Oh, and then the other thing was just in the future, like having now had access to the assets list of council-owned assets, there was one other sort of sentiment in the community that, yes, it's wonderful having this facility out in Kelso in a densely populated area, but we also want to consider options, you know, in town. We've got a big Indigenous community in West Bathurst, places like this, and council has assets in that area as well. So I just wanted to be on the public record saying, you know, whatever happens in the future, certainly collaborate with council as much as you might have more supporters on council than you actually at first thought. And I think it would be great if we could spread some kind of network wider through the community to be sure that we're reaching everyone. So that's me. Very exciting stuff. Good work.
Thank you, Councillor Wright. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. Oh, Jack, sorry, you want the right to reply? Okay, then. That I'll put the motion. Those for? Those for, Councillor? Oh, it's got the numbers. Those against? Carried. Move to item. Oh, Councillor Packman. Yeah, sorry. Can Councillor West hear us? Yeah. Is it? Yeah. Is it frozen? Yeah. I think it's frozen. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, we move to item 9.2.1, section 4.15 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.2.2, general report. Council can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Underwood, councillors, any discussion? Councillor put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Yes. Moved on 9.2.3, MAU, Bathurst Regional Council and Upstairs Regional Incubator Bathurst Limited. Councillor Fry, you have a declaration.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, look, it's probably non-pecuniary really because I rent an office in the facility, but it's significant because there could be a perceived benefit from this MOU to me personally. So I'll leave the room.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor, I forgot you were there. Councillor Packham and Councillor Cranston. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Need Ben McKinn? Oh. Move to item 9.2.4, Economic Development 2024 fourth quarter report. Council can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Cranston, Councillor Packham, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to Director Corporate Service and Finances report, item 9.3.1, Statement of Investments. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Packham, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.2, Monthly Review 2024-2028, Delivery Plan and Operational Plan 2024-2025. Councillors can have a move and a second. Councillor Cranston, Councillor Gulliver. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.3, sundry section 356 donation, Bathurst Memorial Entertainment Centre community use subsidies and Mount Panorama fee subsidies. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Cranston, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.4, power of attorney. Councillor can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Cranston, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for? Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.5, appointment of independent member, Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee. Eric, councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Wright, Councillor Fry, councillors, any discussion? Councillor then put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.6, licence of Brian Booth Recreational Ground to Bathurst Pony Club Incorporated. Councillors can have a move and a second. Councillor Fry, Councillor Peckham, councillors, any discussion? Councillor now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 9.3.7, licence of lot 283 in DP 47960 to Bathurst Archers Incorporated. Councillors can I move and a seconder? Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Underwood, councillors, any discussion? Councillor now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to Director Engineering Services, item 9.4.1. I think we have a declaration of interest. Councillor Wood.
Yes, I have a non-pecuniary, non-significant interest. I'm a member of the Bathurst Netball Association, which is affiliated with the Bushrangers. I'm a proud member of the Bathurst Bushrangers netball team, as a member of the team, but not involved in any way in any pecuniary interest. So I've marked it as non-significant and I'll stay in the room.
Thanks, Councillor Wood. Councillors, move in a second. Councillor Packham, Councillor Fry. Councillors, any discussion? Councillor Cranston.
Can I just make a quick comment that it's things like this and the grant guru that was earlier in the agenda that perhaps if we could pull out, and I've spoke to it before, but perhaps if we could pull out a lot of the bark posts on social media, we may be able to get more traction on this kind of thing and more interest. If we could pull out the bark posts and put them onto a separate page. I realise it's a resourcing issue, but it's just an observation that these type of things would be great to get out in the community for a wider interest.
Thanks, Councillor Cranston. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I'll put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to Director Cultural and Community Service Report, item 9.5.1, the Local Government New South Wales Destination and Visitors Economy Conference, 26th-28th of May 2025, Tweed Shire Council. Councillors could have a move and a second. Councillor Fry, Councillor Wright, councillors, any discussion? Councillor Fry.
Yeah, look, given it's my industry, I'm happy to represent the council again at this conference. I'm happy to cover my own travel too, if that reduces the costs a bit too.
Tweed Eds, yeah. Thanks. Any further discussion?
Mr Mayor, so I have it that it'll be, what's been moved is A, as written, B, will be appoint Councillor Fry to attend the conference, and C, I'll still get you to leaving the payments and that, and I can discuss with Councillor Fry later on.
Okay. Thanks, General Manager. No further discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Mid item 9.5.2, Bathurst Regional Art Gallery Exhibition 21, September 2024, 7th November 2024. Councillors can have a move and a second. Councillor Fry, Councillor Wright. Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Actually, Elaine voted then. Move to item 9.5.3, Bathurst Library Strategic Plan 2019-2024 Final Report. Councillors going to move and a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Cranston, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for. Against, carried. Move to item 9.5.4, Bathurst Library, the Pillars of Bathurst go virtual. Councillors can have a move and a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Packham, councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I'll now put the motion. Those for. Against, carried. Move to item 10, notice of motion. Item 10.1, Councillor B. Fry, promotion of pre-lodgement development meetings to assist businesses, encourage investments and enhance development application processes. Councillors, can I have a move and a seconder? Councillor Fry, Councillor Oliver, councillors, any discussion? Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And it's already an existing product that council delivers. A pre-lodgement development meeting can assist anybody who's looking to do a development on a piece of land that they own or are going to own. And I truly believe that engaging with council at the earliest stage can actually save you thousands, tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars into the future, because you've got to know the parameters that you're working with and the zoning you're working with, the regulations you're working with, the DCP, the LEP, all of the red tape that we know and love in the planning world that Neil actually loves. It can be confusing, it can be complex. This brings attention to this existing customer service option to people. It gives councillors here an opportunity to review it in a working party, to maybe develop a better name for it, maybe develop a different scope for it, maybe build in cost recovery for the service itself, because we are offering an incredible suite of engineers, environmental officers, expertise towards your DA, no matter how small, no matter how big. I feel like really pushing this as an accessible product to the community, making sure that we're recovering our costs on that particular product, but it can really, really save a lot of people a lot of cash in the future, and making it more accessible via a booking platform can allow businesses to not feel too overwhelmed with the process of potentially changing the use of a place or starting a new business in this city. So I won't go on too long because there's a couple of notice submissions.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Any further discussion? Councillor Wright.
Yes, yes.
Wait.
Oh, Councillor, we'll go for Councillor West, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say on the face of it, this seems like a great initiative. However, I do have concerns about this process generally, and I'd like to propose an amendment. And I don't have the exact words because I've been on the road and in the air for the last 2 days. So hopefully you'll bear with me. Ron Honig, the Minister for Local Government, is proposing that there should be no private meetings or briefings, and that the public should be able to be present at any meeting of directors and councillors. Now, I wouldn't go that far, but in terms of this proposal, I do think that the support suggested in Councillor Fry's motion should really only be available to those developers whose proposed DAs fall within the current LEP and DCP. I suggest that any proposed DA applications that seek to build structures that do not comply with our current LEP should have community involvement from the very first meeting. And that's likely to come in anyway if Ron Honig gets his way. But I just think that at the moment, it's too easy for council to encourage developers to submit plans that do not comply with our LEPs, which were developed with community input. And therefore, I think non-compliant DA proposals need a level of transparency and community input that's not in place at the moment.
What's Mr. General Manager?
Mr. Mayor, if I could provide a brief comment, and I'm not sure that the director wants to. This operation of a pre-lodgement development meeting, I don't believe is something that the Minister is talking about. The Minister is talking about there being meetings between the councillors and potentially developers or councillors and staff on making decisions. This is normal business practice where developers come in who are looking to develop in an area, and they are quite within their rights to ask for something that is outside the rules. Anything outside the rules has got to follow due process and will be presented and discussed in accordance with our community engagement strategies, and particularly the engagement strategy that operates for planning. So, with respect, I don't think that what's being suggested is appropriate, because the fact is people have got the right to come in and say, I'd like to build this on a location. And as Councillor Fry said, in a lot of cases, they don't know the LEP, the DCP, and the various rules. That's the item for discussion. And to include community members from step one is just a way of slowing the process down, but at a point where there isn't an item for actual community discussion. So I think that what's proposed is the way to go at the moment. But certainly, in terms of what Councillor West was saying, there are always concerns about probity, and that's an issue that we need to ensure that we operate in accordance with our code of conducts, and also in terms of the guidelines from the various government departments.
Thank you, Mr. Jam. Mr. Director, do you want to add to that?
Could I respond to that?
Yes. Well,
I suggested that the that DA process might come within Ron Honig's remit, because Director for Building Services mentioned in my presence that there would likely be no more chance to talk with developers or people who wanted to build once Ron Honig's proposals went through, if they went through the way they're currently worded. So that's where I got that information from. Was a chance remark by the Director of Building Services. But anyway, yeah, I don't know.
yes, Mr. Director.
Through Mr. Mayor, I can add just a few comments to the General Manager's quite good summary. Firstly, the Minister intention is to limit private briefings of council laws. Council staff are certainly at liberty to discuss planning ideas at any time in the pipeline. Pre-lodgement meetings are by definition prior to an application being lodged. Once an application is lodged, then community participation kicks in. And if it's any consolation, for formal pre-lodgement meetings, those meetings are minuted and those minutes kept on file.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councillor Wright.
Sorry. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor West was moving an amendment.
Oh, she was moving.
So we need to see if there is a seconder for the amendment. And Councillor West, I've tried to put a bit of wording around in that I've left A, B, C, D as written, but with an E, that these processes do not apply to applications that do not fit within Council's planning instruments.
Councillor Fry. You got, no. No seconder? Any seconder for the amendment? No seconder, so the amendment lapses. Thank you. Councillor Wright.
So I just wanted to, I think it's a great idea, don't get me wrong, highly supportive. I just recognise that there's a real appetite with councillors at the moment to ensure that we're very careful with how we expend staff hours and resources and everything like that. And I read this and we're updating communication platforms, including this and that, referring and naming, to a councillor working party, so that's the time of all of the staff and directors in the room. We're streamlining a booking process by introducing a new request system, and we're conducting a review of the services cost structure. So I guess I'm wanting to understand what would actually be the cost association with this in terms of staff hours.
Mr. Director.
Through Mr Mayor, I'm unable to give an exact quantity of hours, but I can perhaps preface any further comments by indicating that myself, the department, my staff, the economic development team as well, would really appreciate the opportunity for prospective investors, prospective developers to come and talk to us early in the sequence. We offer that service. We probably don't sell it very well. I would like to see it happening much more, and therefore would encourage modest time investment in making it happen. It's not a lot of extra time for many of the steps which Councillor Fry is proposing. Quite easy to put a portal, login portal for a meeting request, for example. Some assistance will be needed to develop a marketing plan. But part of my motivation to say it this way is because if it's done well, it saves everybody, including council staff, huge amounts of time. It means that the approval process, once the application is lodged, if it's consistent with the advice that we've given, it actually makes council staff life easier.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councillor
Um,
Wright. Question?
Yeah. Would it also be fair to say that it makes council's life easy if councillors have access to accurate costings for a $10 million plus project?
Point of order relevance.
Mr. Director? No. No. Jurisdiction. Good questions. Anyone answer it? No.
All I can say is that what we're debating is the pre-lodgement development meetings, and that's the item for discussion at the moment, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Gulliver.
I'd just like to support Councillor Fry on his motion. Whatever saves time for both sides, council and the community, certainly will save us money long term. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And your right reply, Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. We heard it from the director. It saves us time as well in the future if done right. And I honestly believe we'll solve a lot of issues in terms of Barneys we had when people go too far into a project without knowing the parameters. I just did want to pick up on a note that Councillor West said about those not wanting to change LEP and DCP in the city, not being able to talk to council. I couldn't hold a more opposite view than that. I think the DCP and LEP are changing documents transformative, and we need to grow our city along with the wants and the needs of our population. So that being said, I commend the motion.
I know. Thank you, Councillor Fry. Council will now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 10.2, Councillor B. Fry's submissions of motion to Olga National General Assembly 2025. Councillor going to move in a seconder. Councillor Fry, Councillor Gulliver, Councillor. Any discussion? Councillor Fry.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and apologies for the excessive amount of motions. I know 3 is a lot of motions for a council meeting, and I won't have it again, so I apologise. The Alga Conference, the General Assembly, held every year. This year in July, I think it's actually in July. I got that wrong, so apologies if there's a typo there, but we might fix that up because that could mean the non-mechanics of the. I might amend that now, please. I think it is July 2025. Yeah, well,
Do you mean to change that, Mr. Gulliver?
Oh, can you approve my amendment? Thanks.
To July.
That was easy. Look, it's joining our voice to the national calls at the moment. Reinvestment or investment, greater investment in sovereign, Australian-owned firefighting equipment, specifically aerial. We saw in the Hill End fires late last year a Section 44 being declared fairly early in the piece, and a lot of resources being applied to that fire. It meant that the fire could be tackled and controlled a lot sooner than it may have been without extra aerial support. In terms of fire seasons, the actual hard seasons are blurring all over the world. We've seen Los Angeles actually experience a significant fire in their off season, and that's putting Australia at risk in our high seasons, which are mirroring or opposing their high season. We rely on resources from America and other countries to tackle bushfires in our country. Given these seasons are changing, bushfires are more prevalent, they're worse when they happen, they're more frequent. I think it's a smart choice and a smart move for the federal government and for us to lobby them to invest in more federal, sovereign-owned aerial firefighting equipment to keep our communities safe. I think it's a high priority, especially for the Central West and definitely east of here, west of here, which is why it's of national significance and deserves to be taken to the National General Assembly.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Go to item 10.3. Councillor B. Fry, supporting the Building Your Dream from Land Purchase to Home Construction Event Proposal. Going to move in a second. Councillor Fry, Councillor Underwood. Councillor, any discussion? Councillor Fry.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. And this was a nice thing. I like it when this happens. An unsolicited approach by a community member who wants to help. They simply sent me through a proposal and said, what about this as a template just to educate people who want to invest in the city or buy a home or enter a home, specifically around land purchases and building a home in the city. They've actually literally engineered the whole thing and got businesses involved to their own selection. I had no involvement in that. I just saw it as a good idea to run with. I think the mechanics of this motion is to apply the director's time. I've spoken to him. He has the time, which is good. It won't be too long, but also commend this over to the business chamber to see if they have an appetite for such an event. I think it fits nicely in their remit, in their agenda, because it is encouraging business and development and investment and activity, economic activity in the city. So, look, whether we partner, whether we hand it over directly, I'd just like this proposal to go in the way of a letter from your office to the President, and showing them the idea and discussions forthcoming. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fry. Any further discussion? No further discussion. I now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Move to item 11.1, Minutes Bathurst Regional Youth Council, 9th December 2024. Councillor, can I move in a second? Councillor Gulliver, Councillor Underwood, Councillors, any discussion? No discussion. I now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. We now revolve into confidential committee of the whole. Can we cease recording of the council meeting? Oh, whoops. Not yet. We have a declaration of interest again, have we?
There are two declarations of interest, and they should be declared before we go into confidential, so people know that it'll be recorded in minutes, but people know what's happening.
Okay, we have a declaration of interest. Got to read it. Councillor Orban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About time you looked my way tonight.
I've been watching you.
Yeah, I am. I have to declare a pecuniary interest under confidential item 12.1.1 as I'm an employee of the company that has made a request. Hit the button and go.
Thank you, Councillor Orban. And Councillor Packard.
And Mr. Mayor, I have a non-pecuniary interest in that I am a direct competitor, or the company I work for is a direct competitor with the applicant. And I'll leave the room.
Thank you. Not yet. Yeah, we need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Wright, Councillor Cranston, now Councillor. We're going to run first. Oh, sorry. Councillors, we are now due to go into confidential committee. Councillors, could I have a motion to go into confidential meeting? Council? Got the motion. Are there any members of the public and press who wish to make representation of the council as to whether the matter should or should not be dealt with in confidential committee? As there are no representatives, I now put the motion to go into confidential committee. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Now, we do
Mr Mayor, Council has just met in confidential session and a number of reports were considered, and apologies for the length of the resolutions that have got to be read out. Could I refer to the Director of Corporate Services and Finance's confidential reports, item number 12.1.2, request for financial assistance, Shackleton Close, and it's that Council not provide financial assistance as detailed in this report. Item 12.1.3, land sales and marketing campaign, that 1, the information be noted, and 2, Council provide notice on the 11th of February 2025 of the 30-day termination of the exclusive agency agreement. Director of Engineering Services Confidential Report 12.2.1, progression of water harvesting scheme, acceptance and quotation of Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited. That A, Council not call tenders for the water quality pre-treatment systems construction works for the Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme, as a satisfactory result will not be achieved by calling tenders by reason of extenuating circumstances, including the construction works were part of the works to be delivered under the contract with High Nash Constructions Proprietary Limited as the head contractor for Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme. Next stop point, the subcontractor Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited had been engaged as the subcontractor under the head contract to perform the construction works. Next stop point, Council has no concern over the performance of the construction works by Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited. Next stop point, the failure of the head contractor to put in place with the subcontractor necessary documentation that would, in the circumstances of the termination of the head contract, enable Council to exercise the step-in provisions under the head contract. Next stop point, but for the uncertainty surrounding the use of the step-in provisions, Council could have taken a novation of the subcontract and proceeded with the engagement of Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited undertaking the construction works. Next stop point, the importance of maintaining good faith with subcontractors on the Council projects. Next point, the economic consequences to subcontractors generally and to Optimal Stormwater specifically for the failures of the head contractor leading to termination of the head contract. Next item, the construction work already performed by the subcontractor. Next dot point, the complication for cancel of warranties for existing works undertaken by the subcontractor if the works are completed by a different contractor. Next dot point, the majority, if not all components of the water pre-treatment system have been manufactured specifically for this project. Next point, some items of the water pre-treatment system have been manufactured overseas with the delivery lead time of a number of months. Next point, work can be undertaken while Council prepares tender documents for other elements of the project, such as the remaining pipework installation, which will be undertaken via open tender. Next point, there will be no delays while tenders review and comprehend the 300 pages of drawings to obtain a proper understanding of the remaining works of the project. Next point, manufactured materials are already in the possession of the subcontractor or have been commissioned and are partway through the fabrication process, which will reduce the time for project completion. Next point, the subcontractor has an intimate knowledge of all of the project from the design development and with design modifications which have occurred during the design and construct phase pursued by the head contractor. Next point, negotiations with Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited identify that the cost of completion of the works will be similar to the subcontract price. B, the General Manager is authorised to negotiate with Optimal Stormwater Proprietary Limited for the construction works referred to in one above. And C, the General Manager is authorised to execute all such contract and other documents as are necessary for the construction works. Item 12.2.2, progression of water harvesting scheme, acceptance of quotation of QMAX Proprietary Limited. That A, Council not call tenders for the excavation of ground and the installation of pumps and associated equipment, the construction works on land within Council's wastewater treatment plant for the Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme, as a satisfactory result would not be achieved by calling tenders by reason of extenuating circumstances, including point. The construction works are part of the works to be delivered under the contract with Hynas Constructions Proprietary Limited as the head contractor for the Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme. Point. The subcontractor QMAX Proprietary Limited had been engaged as the subcontractor under the head contract to perform the construction works. Next stop point. Council has no concern over the performance of the construction works by QMAX Proprietary Limited. Point. The failure of the head contractor to put in place with the subcontractor necessary documentation that would, in the circumstances of the termination of the head contract, enable Council to exercise the step-in provisions under the head contract. Next stop point. But for the uncertainty surrounding the use of the step-in provisions, Council could have taken a novation of the subcontract and proceeded with the engagement of QMAX Proprietary Limited undertaking the construction works. And next point, the importance of maintaining good faith with subcontractors on council projects. And next point, the economic consequences to subcontractors generally and to QMAX Proprietary Limited specifically for failures of the head contractor leading to termination of the head contract. Next point, the construction work already performed by the subcontractor. Next point, the complication for council of warranties for existing works undertaken by the subcontractor if the works are completed by a different contractor. Next point, plant, equipment and construction materials have been delivered and remain on site. Next point, QMAX Proprietary Limited has had material manufactured specifically for the project and delivered to site await installation. Next point, that such construction material is yet to be installed and remains the property of the subcontractor until installation occurs and payment is made. Next point, work needs to be undertaken within the excavation as soon as possible for environmental protection and remediation. Next point, negotiations with QMAX Proprietary Limited identify that the cost of the completion of the works will be similar to the subcontract price. B, the General Manager is authorised to negotiate with QMAX Proprietary Limited for the construction works referred to in one above. And C, the General Manager is authorised to execute all such contract and other documents as are necessary for the construction works. Item 12.2.3, progression of water harvesting scheme, acceptance of quotation of LMI Proprietary Limited. That A, Council not call tenders for the installation of the polymer lining at Bathurst Water Filtration Plant for the 8 megalitre pond and also the wastewater treatment plant 28 megalitre pond, the construction works for the Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme, as a satisfactory result will not be achieved by calling tenders by reason of extenuating circumstances, including first stop point. The construction works were part of the works to be delivered under the contract with Hynas Constructions Proprietary Limited as the head contractor for the Bathurst Water Harvesting Scheme. Next stop point, the subcontractor LMI Proprietary Limited had been engaged as the subcontractor under the head contract to perform the construction works. Next point, Council has no concern over the performance of the construction works by LMI Proprietary Limited. Next point, the failure of the head contractor to put in place with the subcontractor necessary documentation that would, in the circumstances of the termination of the head contract, enable Council to exercise the step-in provisions under the head contract. Next point, but for the uncertainty surrounding the use of step-in provisions, Council could have taken a novation of the subcontract and proceeded with the engagement of LMI Proprietary Limited undertaking the construction works. Next point, the importance of maintaining good faith with subcontractors on council projects. Next point, the economic consequences to subcontractors generally and to LMI Proprietary Limited specifically for the failures of the head contractor leading to termination of the head contract. Next point, that there is the polymer liner already delivered to site and has been paid for by council. Next point, the subcontractor carrying out preparatory works to the holding ponds to allow the liner to be appropriately installed will provide the benefit of the full warranty for the liner system to be available to council. B, the General Manager is authorised to negotiate with LMI Proprietary Limited for construction works referred to in one above. And C, the General Manager is authorised to execute all such contract and other documents as are necessary for construction works. Item 12.2.4, 2024 Asset Management of Sewer Pipes. that council enter into a contract with Interflow Proprietary Limited for the asset management of sewer pipes commencing the 6th of February 2025 for a period of 2 years as detailed in the report.
Move to.
I was waiting for that.
We've got one more item. haven't we?
Mr Mayor, could we have a resolution to adopt those items? Because the other item requires two of the councillors to leave the room because of a declaration.
Thank you.
So Councillor Price moved it.
Councillor-
No, Councillor Packham, you're still here for a sec.
Yeah.
Yep. So Councillor Price moved it.
Yep. I'll second it. Councillor Underwood.
Okay. So councillors, just to be clear,
That
this
was
is
on that.
all the items in confidential except for the first
Except for the
item
first.
where there's a declaration.
So we need adoption. Okay, put the motion. Need adoption. Those for, against, carried. We move to the final item.
Okay, so
So
on this one,
councillors
councillors Packham
Packham.
and
Auburn.
Auburn. Sorry, it's got to be cut out.
Yep.
Warren, you need to sign out. Okay, so the connection's dropped out.
Yep.
So they've left the room. So, Mr Mayor, we have Warren, there is he? Can you just delete him? Or should I
Read the recommendation.
Could you just do an Arnold Schwarzenegger and terminate?
Shocking. He's gone. Okay.
Okay,
So we read the adoption.
Okay, now, Mr Mayor.
Gentlemen, Chair, read the adoption of the recommendation of the Confidential Committee as a whole, which is on to 12.1.1.
On requests for water and sewer charges fee relief, Stewart Street. The council apply one-off $7,500 waiver to the September 2024 water account for 359 Stewart Street, Mitchell, with funding being offset by water consumption revenue.
Okay, move in a second. Please, Councillor Pride, Councillor Gulliver, councillors, any discussion? Councillor, now put the motion. Those for? Against? Carried. Councillors, I now declare the meeting closed at 8:34. Thank you for your attendance. Can the recording please be stopped?